Imagine holding a simple deck of playing cards in your hands. 52 pieces of paper, decorated with hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. For most people, they are tools for entertainment, gambling, magic tricks, or family gatherings. But hidden inside this ordinary deck is a story that stretches across continents, kingdoms, trade routes, and centuries of human history. The story of playing cards is a journey through ancient civilizations, cultural exchanges, royal courts, and technological revolutions. The origins of playing cards are believed to trace back more than 1,000 years. Most historians agree that the earliest known playing cards appeared in China during the Tang dynasty, sometime between the 7th and 10th centuries. At that time, paper-making technology had already become highly advanced in China. This innovation made it possible to create small, portable pieces of printed paper that could be used for games. Some scholars believe that these early cards evolved from paper currency. Since paper currency was already in circulation, people began creating game pieces that resembled money and used them in various forms of entertainment. These early cards were quite different from the playing cards we know today. They often featured numbers, symbols, and designs connected to currency values. As trade flourished along the Silk Road, ideas, inventions, and cultural traditions moved from one region to another. Playing cards gradually spread westward from China into Central Asia and eventually reached the Islamic world. By the 13th century, card games became popular in several parts of the Middle East. One of the most important milestones in the history of playing cards occurred in the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt. Historians have discovered surviving Mamluk playing cards dating back to the 15th century. These cards featured suits such as cups, swords, coins, and polo sticks. Interestingly, many of these suit symbols would later influence European card designs. The Mamluk cards were beautifully decorated with intricate geometric patterns and elegant calligraphy. Because Islamic traditions often discouraged the depiction of human figures in art, these cards typically avoided portraits of people. Nevertheless, they established many structural features that would become common in later card decks. From the Middle East, playing cards made their way into Europe, likely through trade routes connecting Islamic territories with Spain and Italy. By the late 14th century, references to card games began appearing in European records. The cards quickly became a sensation. European nobles and wealthy merchants were fascinated by this new form of entertainment. Early European decks were often hand-painted and extremely expensive. Skilled artists spent countless hours decorating each card, making them luxury items that only the rich could afford. As card games became more popular, demand increased dramatically. The invention and spread of woodblock printing transformed card production. Instead of painting every card by hand, printers could create multiple copies quickly and efficiently. This innovation reduced costs and allowed card games to reach ordinary people. Different regions of Europe developed their own unique card designs. In Italy and Spain, suits such as swords, cups, coins, and batons remained common. German card makers introduced entirely different symbols, including acorns, leaves, hearts, and bells. Each region adapted card games according to its own artistic traditions and cultural preferences. The version most familiar to modern audiences emerged in France during the late Middle Ages. French card makers simplified the suit system into hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. These symbols were easier to print and reproduce than many earlier designs. Their simplicity helped them become highly successful. The French system eventually spread throughout Europe and beyond. Today, it remains the standard suit arrangement used in most playing cards around the world. Another fascinating aspect of card history involves the face cards. Kings, queens, and jacks evolved over time from earlier court cards. In some historical decks, these figures were even assigned names representing famous rulers, heroes, or legendary figures. Although modern decks no longer officially identify them as specific historical individuals, traces of these traditions can still be found in certain card-making customs. The number of cards in a standard deck also carries historical significance. A typical deck contains 52 cards divided into 4 suits. Some people enjoy connecting these numbers to the 52 weeks of the year and the 4 seasons. While such interpretations are popular, historians generally believe the deck evolved gradually from practical gaming traditions rather than being intentionally designed as a calendar. Playing cards became deeply connected with gambling during the Renaissance and later centuries. Across Europe, people gathered in taverns, homes, and royal courts to play card games involving strategy, luck, and competition. Governments sometimes attempted to regulate or tax playing cards because of their association with gambling and because they represented a profitable source of revenue. In England, special tax stamps were often printed on cards to prove that taxes had been paid. These regulations influenced card manufacturing and even contributed to the development of specific card designs. By the 18th and 19th centuries, playing cards had become a global phenomenon. European colonial expansion carried card games to the Americas, Africa, Asia, and countless islands around the world. Different cultures embraced the cards and created their own unique games. Poker emerged in the United States and eventually became one of the most famous card games in history. Bridge gained popularity among intellectual and social circles. Blackjack became a staple of casinos. Solitaire offered a way for individuals to enjoy cards alone. Each game added another chapter to the long story of the deck. The Industrial Revolution further transformed card production. Advances in printing technology allowed manufacturers to create durable, high-quality cards in massive quantities. Standardized designs made decks more consistent and accessible than ever before. One of the most important innovations during this period was the introduction of mirrored face cards. Earlier cards often required players to rotate them to identify the figures. Double-ended designs solved this problem, making gameplay faster and more convenient. Playing cards also found a place beyond gaming. Magicians used them to create astonishing illusions. Soldiers carried decks during wartime for recreation. Fortune tellers incorporated certain cards into divination practices. Educators even developed card-based learning tools. In the modern era, playing cards have entered the digital world. Online poker platforms, virtual card games, and mobile gaming applications have introduced traditional card experiences to millions of new players. Despite technological changes, the essential appeal of playing cards remains unchanged. There is something timeless about gathering around a table, shuffling a deck, and dealing the cards. The excitement of uncertainty, the challenge of strategy, and the social connections created through gameplay continue to captivate people of all ages. Today, billions of playing cards are produced every year. They are used in homes, casinos, tournaments, schools, and magic performances across the globe. Yet every deck still carries echoes of its remarkable past. A history that began over 1,000 years ago in ancient China, traveled through the Islamic world, evolved in medieval Europe, and ultimately became one of humanity's most enduring forms of entertainment. The next time you pick up a deck of cards, take a moment to look beyond the colorful designs. Those 52 cards are more than just a game. They are pieces of history, shaped by centuries of human creativity, trade, innovation, and cultural exchange. Few everyday objects have traveled such a long and fascinating journey through time, and that is what makes the history of playing cards truly extraordinary.